Hello, everyone, again. This is Caroline with Expat Interviews, Thriving Abroad, where we take you all over the globe to meet fantabulous people who are living their best lives abroad. And today I wanted you to meet a very cool person, Dontae. Welcome. And Dontae is living his, when you say best life abroad, he is the epitome of that. He is just doing so many things, and I wanted you to meet him and have him share his story of how he got to across the river to Japan, and how he's just thriving. Dontae, thank you for being with us today. So tell us your story. This is how we begin. You're in Japan. What town are you in? Are you living in?
I live in Tokyo now. I live in the northern, well, about north central part of Tokyo. So one of the traditional areas of Tokyo.
Okay. And you're originally from where?
I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky, but I grew up mostly in South Carolina. My parents were military, so mostly in South Carolina, though.
So you were in the military.
My parents were, and then I was
Okay,
for a
what
long.
branch?
My parents were Army and Marines, and I ended up in the Air Force.
Wonderful. So tell us about your journey, your travel to Japan. Were you stationed there at one point?
No, I wasn't actually. I went here on a vacation, and I fell in love with the culture and ability to do kind of what I wanted to do. So I decided to come back and actually live here.
Very nice. And what was it like? Was that your first time living abroad? I mean, like living, not maybe stationed, but actually living abroad.
Yes, it was. It was my first time living abroad and doing all the things that that you would try to do when you're living stateside, but like doing it in a foreign country.
And what was it like? Had you done a lot of research before you went to Japan? Did you
Yeah,
scour the internet looking for?
yeah, no, I did. I wish you were available then for me to do all that, because I guess it's been 4 years now. I watched everything. I was reading. YouTube was a huge resource for me. So I watched everyone and everything I could to prepare myself, because for me, failure wasn't an option. Like I was going to go and I was going to thrive, and there was nothing that anybody could do to stand in my way.
Wow, that's very powerful. I love that. I got you by a few years too, and the same for me. I left 12 years ago, and there wasn't even Facebook group. There was
Mm.
nothing. There was absolutely nothing to to find except maybe some of these posts or discussion groups, things like that. So yeah, it's really important to do the research. So you have an incredible story going on in Japan. You've been there now, and you just flourished. You found love. You found this amazing life. Tell us about that.
Yeah, no. So I came here to teach English. That was what I wanted to do. Like a lot of people do that just to like get into a country. They'll say, "Oh, I'll teach for a little bit and then I'll transition to something else." No, I finished with the military, and I thought, this is what my passion is. I'm going to teach. So I came over here, and for a couple of years, I just focused in on creating my own system, creating a way to connect kids to culture, and being the only Black person that they had any encounter with. Like I was responsible for creating a reputation that would last them a lifetime. So I really focused in on that first, and then I began to get more into the creative community. Um, where I was doing photo shoots with some of the photographers here in Tokyo. And then I decided to start, creating for myself. So I did create the YouTube channel. I did start networking with some of the local area cooks and trying to just learn more about the culture that I was kind of assimilating into and trying to bring my own culture into. And along the way, I met my wife, my now wife, um, who's a chef. She's a pastry chef, actually. So, you know, everything kind of revolved around the kitchen at some point. But I think that's the shortest part of the story, because that's the most recent part. Yeah, it's been a wild ride. It's hard to believe that it's been 4 years. It feels like a lifetime.
Now, when you decided to move, were your intent was, I'm going there, I'm setting up, I'm going to make it, this is it? I mean, at any moment, did you say, well, you know, I'll see, try it out for a while, or maybe I'll just keep traveling? What was your intent when you left, when you moved?
No, I was pretty intent on staying, and I think this is like I guess the one thing that kind of differentiated me with a lot of the other people that were in my network when I first came here, or my peer group when I first came here. A lot of people were like, "Oh, I'm going to see how this goes," and I just felt like if one foot's half out, you're going to get out. So the way I thought about it was, I'm going to research like I'm going to stay, and I'm going to work like I'm going to stay, and it's going to work out that way.
That's a good point. That's really good. Wow, I have never thought about it like that. You know, just the intent is, I'm going to stay, because you know, so many of us, we go to a place and then we realize we don't like it, or whatever, and we're off to our next location. But that's very interesting to just be intent on, well, this is it. Um, I know that you had talked about on, you know, on your channel, about because we, you know, from the Western world, don't know a lot, especially people of color, you know, what it's like living in Japan as a person of color. And I wanted to ask you to just share your feelings or your experiences about that issue, because that is a big issue that everyone thinks of, like, I could never go to Japan. What was it like for you as a person of color living in Japan?
Honestly, this sounds crazy at first. It felt freeing. You know, I think that you know, being in America at such a volatile time, and you know, 3 4 years ago, it wasn't as volatile as it is now, but to be black anywhere is to kind of feel some kind of pressure. Um, and not to say that there's no pressure here, the pressure is just different. It doesn't feel existential. So when I came here, I really thought, wow, you guys have never met a black man before. So your assumptions, your preconceived notions are based on entertainment. So now it's real. I'm in the flesh. Now you can ask questions. You can figure out whether or not what you saw on TV was true, and most of the time it wasn't. Um, but as far as the community is concerned, that's just in the classroom. As far as the community is concerned, of course, I got the odd looks like, you know, are you a tourist? Like, why are you here? Like, no, I'm here. Like, I'm not a tourist. Like, I live here. And there's a greater black community here. And that's what people don't realize when they come to Japan. Like, you're not alone. Like, there is a community of people of color here from all areas of the world, from Africa to Jamaica to America. We have like Canadians everywhere. Like, so black people from everywhere are here. Like, people of color from everywhere are here. I don't want to just single out black people. So I think I never really felt alone culturally, and I never really had a terrible experience. I think, you know, I've gotten those looks, like, you know, like when people think, oh, like I might be dangerous. But I think that's to be expected when, you know, all people know is what they've seen on media, and they've never really interacted with anyone in real life. And usually after there is some interaction with me, they're like, oh, they're like kind of disarmed of their discriminative thoughts. And that's kind of what I want to do. I want to disarm people so that they can actually, like, you know, embrace whatever it is I'm trying to bring to the table, or what somebody else might bring to the table. I might just be setting them up for another interaction and another relationship with another person of color.
I wish that I could take that part of what you just said and just do it on a rewind and just play it over and over, because that is so important. What you've just said about, you know, other people's perceptions of us, other cultures' perceptions, because oftentimes, you know, especially those of us coming from the United States, and we've already been through all of that, you know, we have this mindset that, oh, he's looking at me funny because he's racist or because he doesn't like Black people. And it's what you said, you know, we just take for granted that everybody knows, you know, Black folk, and everybody knows what. And I find that, and I've only lived in Latin America, and even in Latin America, you know, it's the same. It's just more of a curiosity, like, wow, I'm actually seeing a person of color, you know, up close and in person. Like, what are they like? Let me touch your hair. Let me see what, you know,
Yeah.
is it true that you know, wow, are you? And I think that we have to be mindful of that,
Yeah.
oftentimes, you know, as we pick places to go. It's not always a racial thing, and we're always jumping back, oh, he, you know, he's racist, and they look at me funny and they don't like me. So
Yeah.
along those lines, what was it like? You were dating, and and you're married. How does the Japanese culture, how do they accept interracial marriages? Is there any kind of cultural
Yeah.
abnormality about that, or are they very accepting?
So I think Japan is changing slowly. Anyone who's ever been to Japan, or if you ever plan on coming to Japan, understand that Japan changes very slowly. And I think that's because it's an isolated country. I mean, when you think it's one of the oldest cultures in the world, and it was mostly isolated. So I'm not making excuses for it. I'm setting a table for you. So only since the 80s has the half culture, and that's what they're called here. They're called half Japanese, half something else. These are the children of interracial marriages and interracial relationships. This is what they're called. Um, they've become more prevalent and more accepting of them in society. Not that it's ever been illegal like it was in the States, but it's just something that was abnormal, because the barrier to entry into Japan is the language. So how many, and you know, you can ask yourself this question, how many Black people you know speak Japanese? Not many. I don't know many before I came here. So because of that, they didn't see that interaction, that relationship very often. So of course it's like, what's going on here? But these days, it depends on where you are in Japan. So of course they're used to interracial relationships with a white counterpart and Japanese counterpart. Now, when they see a Black person with a Japanese person, the first assumption is he military? Like, and then like the second assumption is she foreign, like half something else, and then that's how they got together. And then after that assumption, then they're like, okay, so what's actually going on here? Like, but it's never met with animosity, only curiosity, so far for me.
Uh, so Tokyo, Japan, it's a vibrant city, lots going on. I'm sure lots to do culturally. Uh, what would you say to someone who maybe came from or is coming from a smaller town or a smaller city and considering going to that? I know there are other places there that are more quiet, more serene, but is there any really, as far as them doing their research, anything that they really need to zero in on living in Japan? Is there something that you really like, wow, you better make sure that you do X or you do Y?
Yeah, I would understand why you're here. Like, what kind of lifestyle do you want to be in? Because Tokyo's a city, yes, but Tokyo is a state. And it's really important that people understand that Tokyo has cities within the city. So the part of the city that I'm in is historically the quote unquote low town. And that was where, like, culture meets market areas. So like I have a lot of a different vibe than maybe you get from your richer parts like Rapungi or something like that. So why are you here is the first question you should ask yourself, and vector your living space or the place in Tokyo where you want to live, for example, to that. There is a family centric area of Tokyo. There is a quote unquote party centric. There is a art district. There's a fashion history, that kind of thing. So I think if you know you and you know what you want to experience, then it's very easy. And for me, I've been living in other areas around Tokyo, but I just moved into Tokyo proper a couple of months ago. And what I was thinking was it needs to be convenient for me to see all of the things in Tokyo. And it has to be convenient for me to get out of Tokyo when I want to get out of here. And that was what was most important to me. I just challenge people to try to figure out what it is that you want before you move.
That's interesting. So along those lines, um, you've been there now a few years, and you're settled in. This is it for you. Why should we move to Japan? What's in it for me?
Great question. I think that I think you should move to Japan to make your mark. I think that, you know, people are always looking to space and things like that. Like, oh, we need to find new worlds. Like, nothing left on Earth is undiscovered. But I think what is great about being here is that people can discover you. Um, like if you want to create something and for people to be able to see what you create, you have to go someplace that's never seen what you have, that's never experienced what you've experienced, and grow that there. Now, America has seen everything, and our culture is permeated into popular culture, but only recently is that happening in Japan. So if you want to create what Japan sees going forward, what it feels going forward, what's the culture going forward, then I would say come here, help build something with me.
Wow, I love it. I love it. So how can we connect more with you? You have a YouTube channel. What is your channel?
Yes, my YouTube channel is called Dontae Dakara. It's Japanese, of course, my name, but Dakara means because it is. So because it's Dontae, I'm going to show you things from my perspective. And the YouTube channel and the Instagram channel are the same names, Dontae Dakara. And
Okay,
then for the
I'm going to include the link below this video so folks can check you out and your beautiful wife. Um, are there little ones in the future planned?
Yeah, there are plans for a little one in the future. I think that we're enjoying the vibes of being newlyweds. We've been together for a few years, but we want to kind of get the kids out of the way, so we can go back to enjoying life. But they're in the future, and it's a very serious consideration because um, half Japanese children, half Black children, they will have a very different experience, and we don't take that lightly.
There was actually a Miss Japan recently in the last few years and there was quite the controversy over that. I remember, but she was
Yes,
beautiful, absolutely gorgeous woman.
the
Um,
current is actually Black too. Actually,
oh, another one.
yeah, we're right.
No,
We're keeping it going. We're keeping it going.
no kidding. Well, that's amazing. I'm going to have to look her up. Wow, that's awesome. But you brought up some really, really cool and interesting things that I had never thought about in all of my years being an expat. And I want to thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your story with us. And hopefully you will give that little push to someone who's sitting on the fence, who's pondering their next move, their life, and and I'm so happy that you were able to share and let us know that yes, you can thrive anywhere that you want to be, all over the world, everywhere, and you're the perfect example. Thank you so much, Dontae. I appreciate you.
No, thank you for having me. I look forward to seeing you guys all when you come to Japan.
Thank you. Bye-bye.